All right. Up next is Gil Penchina, who I believe is the leading syndicate, at least in terms of volume.
Morning.
You're the meta syndicate. Good morning, Gil. How are you doing?
Good. I think at last count we run 4 of the over million syndicates and about 15 other ones.
Okay, so you're powering syndicates as well as running a few?
We're trying to help a lot of people leverage the platform.
Okay. Where were you when I needed you 6, 7 years ago, my friend?
I think I was working.
Yes.
I
Actually,
mean, I'm-
Gil and
I'm-
I don't know if we were overlapping a little bit. You were at eBay when
For a
I
little
was
while.
at PayPal.
Yeah. No, I saw you causing trouble there too. It was good.
Indeed.
No, I mean, I ultimately view the world through an entrepreneur's lens. I somehow became a VC guy thanks to Naval, but
But
I'm
you
really
don't need
more
to
of an
do
entrepreneur.
this, right? You could hang out in a house in Atherton for a little while and be quite fine. Why are you doing this?
So, like many entrepreneurs in the room, we're all out there looking for something that works, something that has, that sort of magic. And I was experimenting with AngelList a year and a half ago, and Naval asked me to play with it. I was like, oh, it's a new toy. So I play with all new toys, whether they're Instagram or Instacart or AngelList. And this one just worked too well. So at some point, I went all in and pushed all my chips on the table.
But I mean, you've been doing angel investing for, I don't know, 10 years or more at least?
17 now.
17. Okay, excuse me.
Yeah. Jesus.
And
That makes me old.
I think you were first 20 to 50 employees at eBay. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, around there.
Yeah, and did a lot of that. So, I mean, I don't think you need to do this to make a living. You invest in a lot of angel. You've been an angel investor for many years in a bunch of companies, hundreds, I'm sure. So, what's the motivation to help other people? Aren't you competing with your with other folks out there, or this is now the new market?
I don't know. I mean, so when I first started angel investing, it was this mysterious thing, right? And there were these cool startups, and you couldn't figure out how people got to invest in them and who didn't. And the only thing I knew was if you were CalPERS or Harvard's endowment, like those people got to invest in the good ones.
Right.
I got to invest in largely the shitty ones. Honestly, right?
I think I sent a few of those your way, actually.
I think you did. But luckily PayPal was one of them, so
That's
it worked
right.
out.
Okay, right.
But
Thanks, Max.
what I love about what Naval is doing, what AngelList is doing, is I view it as democratizing access to this asset class.
Okay.
That we all now have the opportunity to invest in really cool startups.
We
that
all have the opportunity
have
to
that.
lose money investing in startups.
It's true, right? But
Just like the housing market.
and you
can
can also
lose money
lose money in bonds. Like
That's true.
I've been reading articles lately that I can't sell my bonds; they're basically illiquid, right? I think there are a lot of weird asset
I'm
class.
sorry, I
things
forgot to ask you
going
the
on.
bubble or no bubble question. Where are we in the bubble heat index?
I think it's more like 98 or 99 and not 2001, so 7.
Okay, so we got a few more years.
Yeah, and even if you look at the class of 98, 99, I mean, eBay went public in 98. They weren't all
true.
colossally stupid.
Okay, so back to, you're running at least the second largest syndicate on AngelList, about $5 million, over almost 1,000 backers. Not all of those are in every deal, obviously, right?
No, they can't. We actually, if you go through my syndicate, which is number 2, and the late stage syndicate, which I think is number 3, and a few of the other ones, in total we have about 2,500 backers, people like us, who are writing checks ranging from $1,000 to $100,000. And I started having this problem that I'm only allowed to put 99 people in every deal. And so I would do a deal, and 99 people would pile in, and 800 people would email me angry.
This is not Naval's issue. This is U.S. securities law.
Yeah,
Right,
this
great.
is correct. And so we actually became one of the first customers of the AngelList API, and we built a software platform called Angel Mob, where our group of backers, are given work to do to help our startups. They're
Okay.
asked to help with recruiting, they're asked to help with introductions, and they're asked to help promote the startups on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And they earn points for doing that, and we use the points to decide who gets into the interesting deals.
Okay.
So for example, BP is out raising right now, and we have pro rata rights into that, and that will be one of those hot deals. So, we're already starting to queue up the list of people with the most, as I joke, Gil bucks to be able to get access to it.
So, are you comfortable building your business on top of AngelList as a platform? I don't know if Naval is concerned that you're competing with him or complementary. Are you a symbiotic organism with AngelList?
I mean, I would think of us as the biggest customer,
Okay.
right? And it's a great platform. It takes a ton of work out that honestly we don't want to do. It's very symbiotic from my perspective.
So your goal is basically find smart people who have access to deal flow, help them raise money, and then automate and process their deals, so they don't have to worry about whether Naval changes the UI or not, I guess.
Yeah, I guess the analogy I've started using is if AngelList is kind of like the NASDAQ, it's this trading platform for buying and selling stocks. We want to be the Fidelity. We're recruiting fund managers, people like us. So if you're interested, reach out, who want to run funds. So we have a SaaS fund and a Bitcoin fund. We also have a late stage fund and a UK fund. We're building funds for sort of every hypothesis that investors have.
So my fellow managing partner, Beji Yang, and I just taught a course on investor education at Stanford a few weeks ago. We had 30 students from all over the world. Some of them are in the audience right now. Can they hit you up to help them start a fund?
Sure,
And
happy to help.
what's a good starting amount for them that would make you pay attention?
I mean, honestly, I think it's more a question of can you source interesting deals? And the skin in the game at AngelList starts at $1,000 a deal. Most people put in more, 10 or 25,000 per deal. But my argument would be put in some amount that's meaningful to you, right? So if you're a millionaire, putting $1,000 in is kind of embarrassing, right? But if you're the average entrepreneur, it might be okay.
What if you're a smart guy or gal who's an engineer or a product manager or somebody else, but they don't have, $1 million, maybe they have $20,000 to get started, but they want to start doing deals, maybe 10, 20 investments a year. Don't they need to figure out a way to raise a couple $1 million? Is that something you're going to help make available?
I mean, we help you form a fund, and we help you get out and sort of recruit backers for your fund and manage the fund and do a bunch of things as your partner. So, what we do is help train the next sort of group of up-and-coming AngelList syndicate managers, basically.
And I guess you're doing something more than just providing fundraising and managing deal flow. You're trying to coordinate value add in a way.
Right. So the software is another piece, right? The goal is that every investment we do does better than the average because there's 2,000 people helping the company.
Okay, I get that.
And so really we're trying to find every way possible to help syndicate managers find good deals, write bigger checks, be more helpful, and build the brand.
So bandofangels.com perhaps.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. I think we got a question from Jeff Clavier. There's a lack of education.
Is it in French or in English?
Yes. I think it's in English, but it sounds like
J'aime
French.
vous beaucoup.
There's a lack of education on the part of it. I can't do that. Sorry. There is a lack of. That's actually Jeff doesn't talk like that, but other people.
No,
lack
it's
of
worse.
education on the part of investors and entrepreneurs participating in AngelList syndicates. Can you provide some thoughts on the right way versus the risky way to build a syndicate?
Yeah, so the first rule is only accredited investors are allowed onto AngelList to begin with, and that is also a U.S. federal law. The goal of that really is to prevent, the plumber who makes $40,000 a year from investing $40,000 in a startup.
Right, because you want to protect them from that so that they can put $5,000 to $10,000 down on a highly leveraged loan and then be 20x underwater when the real estate market tanks.
Right,
because
or buy
that's
mortgage
really important
bonds.
for us to subsidize as a country. But you can't invest in startups because you might lose that $1 that you have. One can only go to zero unless you invest in the housing market, in which case one can go to negative 20.
Fair enough. I don't set the law.
Different rant, but...
So I think AngelList does a pretty good job of telling backers, don't put all your money in one startup. Try to diversify. We as syndicate managers do the same thing. My advice is always to people, if you can't do 20 investments, don't do one.
Right, actually, and in fact, I wrote a blog post on this.
Recently.
So I think it's not 20.
What's the number? You think it's 50?
I think it's 50 if you're good and 100 or more if you're not so good.
So I'm not good, but I've been very lucky, and my math has been 1 in 25.
Right,
1 in
but
25
you're good.
seems
You
to
have
work
access
out.
to deal flow.
Yeah, but I had 1 in 25 when I was stupid back in '98 too.
I got 3 deals out of 13 100 million plus
Nice.
exits, but I was fucking stupid too.
Yeah.
And I don't think those odds are scalable. And I
So-
think it was because I was investing with,
Right.
Josh Kaufman and Reed and Ron Conway and a bunch of other people.
So I think that's part of it, right? Diversify, to Jeff's question. And then for the syndicate
But
managers,
it's not just diversification. You're getting access to deal flow. Their deal flow is better than yours, So it's diversification and access to their deal flow.
so we did that, right? We went through and looked at, of the 50 or so deals we've done through AngelList, who have we co-invested with, who's followed on, and it's a great list of names. It's
Right.
Andreessen and Battery and Bessemer and Greylock and,
Nice.
people you'd like to see.
Those guys are kind of smart.
Yeah, some of them.
Wait, which ones aren't smart of the list that you just mentioned?
The ones that are overpaying, clearly. We like those the best.
This is going to be a trap here. I feel like I'm going down a rabbit hole, but sorry. We'll move on from that. How many deals are you doing a year per syndicate?
So each syndicate is its own partnership and sort of takes time to gel. And so Nathan, who's here somewhere, raise your hand. There he is. Nathan was the first one dumb enough to join me on this project, and he runs the SaaS syndicate.
Oh, that's
which has
the
about $1.5
big
million
one, right?
in backers, and they
Yeah.
did about 6 or 7 deals last year. They'll probably do 10 or 15 this year, and it's sort of growing on a nice cadence.
So if I invested in every deal you do out of the SaaS syndicate in 2 years, I'll get reasonable diversification.
Correct.
Now, if I invest in those deals and I lose money on some, but I win on others, you still get carry on the wins.
As do VCs.
Yeah, but if it's different, if it's a fund of 20 investments, then the wins get aggregated with the losses. If I do 20 individual syndicate deals and I lose on 19 of them but win on one, you still make money on that one?
It's true. The syndicates use this quirk in the law that allow you to do these 99
Right.
backer deals, and it has some good and some bad to it, right? The good is these syndicates are run at 0 and 20 instead of the Greylock fund I invested in, which was 2 and 30. So they're cheaper.
So there's no management fee per se,
Right.
but you get deal by deal carry
So-
as a syndicate
Right,
manager.
and deal by deal carry is not ideal for the investor. You'd rather have fund carry because it means the losers, you don't get charged for the losers quite as much.
So do but I have selectivity if I'm
Yeah.
doing the syndicate. So I guess the
You can
trade-off
also
is
pick,
I have selectivity on which deals I do. I don't have to pay management fees, but I get charged for deal by deal carry on the wins.
So I'm working with Naval and his team to sort of quantify our 2013 investments, all of them, and our 2014 investments, all of them, and compare what would happen if you paid 2 and 20 versus what happens under the syndicate model of 0 and 20 per deal. And we're pretty confident that the investors actually work out better, but I will have those numbers soon, and I'm going to publicize them because it seems like the right thing to do.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, so are you going to publish those numbers? And at least, I guess you'd have stats on whether they raise subsequent capital.
Yep, so we'll have markup data and any exit data and failure data and all that stuff. But
Right.
I mean, ultimately, when people ping me, and again, with 2,500 backers, I do a lot of email on AngelList. I'm probably their biggest spammer. And people email me and they're like, well, you get upside if this works. And I say, yes, that's true, but every VC in the Valley makes $500,000 to $2 million a year in salary off their management fees, even if they lose money.
Some of us don't.
Well, some of you spend it on conferences and wacky T-shirts and
Ouch! This is
stuff
a
like that.
We are going to make. I think we're going to make money on this conference. Hopefully, we'll
Really?
make some money. We'll see.
Okay. I scalped a few tickets, so maybe.
Damn you!
But my argument is the VCs will make money irrespective of how investors do, whereas the people who work with us and work with Naval, we put money in every deal, and we only make money if the deal makes money. So the alignment is actually higher.
Alignment definitely seems better on a lot of stuff, and you're not going to make the carry for a little while. So in the meantime, you better be looking for wins. You guys have a collaboration with Indiegogo?
Yeah, so that was our first, I jokingly call it, corporate venture fund.
Huh? Wait, what?
So we launched a fund in partnership with Indiegogo to invest in Indiegogo hardware companies. And
Okay.
we get access to some very interesting data out of Indiegogo on early performance of hardware startups on the platform. And so what it basically means is, within the first 2 or 3 days of a new hardware campaign launching on Indiegogo, my team has access to the data on how it's doing and how it compares to other hot companies on
I see.
Indiegogo in the past. And so that data, much like Naval's data, is a really interesting signal to what are the hot new companies coming out of Indiegogo that we can get to early.
Is that
through
correlated
that.
with outcomes, you think?
Well, if you sell $2 million worth of suitcases in a few weeks, it means someone likes it.
Something's working. Okay.
Right? I mean, it's not necessarily a signal that the team is good, but it's certainly a product market fit signal.
Somebody did a good video for Indiegogo that caught people's attention at the very least. Obviously, you've got some sectors that seem like they're working, and I'm assuming you're going to continue to do more of those verticals. Any new syndicates that you're thinking about launching that we're not aware of yet?
So we have a bunch: marketplace, ad tech, security, all the sort of IoT that you were mentioning earlier.
Play out each of those categories that VCs say they're always very focused on.
Exactly. We don't do all of them. There's a very nice gentleman, David Weekley, who runs the drone fund.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So there's a bunch of people doing these sort of vertical ones. I'm actually looking at doing one for advisors. So if any of you are advising startups and want to think about ways to sort of, I guess, be more company friendly. I used to advise 10 years ago, and I always felt weird because I would get stock grant for an unknown amount of help, and I didn't really know if I was helpful, and I felt like a grifter, honestly. And so we're working on a new structure for advisors through a syndicate.
First Round just announced something that was more specific.
Yeah, they're doing a more specific one. I think we can do better.
Okay.
And then we're also looking at ways to buy stock options as well. So, people who are leaving a company and are forced to buy the stock and can't afford it, we're starting to think about ways to solve that problem too.
Okay. I think that one's interesting. So selling common through the employees, I guess if that's allowed by the company. We'll take a few questions also from the audience. Before we do that, what do you think is required to list a company on your syndicates? Are there any sort of basic KPIs for those companies in terms of revenue or growth or profitability or profitability?
Yeah, we haven't had many profitable ones yet. Certainly not at seed stage. I mean, if you're at seed stage and you're raising money and you're profitable, I'm kind of confused. Keep the business. It looks pretty good. No, it depends by vertical. The SaaS team, for example, is more focused on KPIs and MRR and growth rates and that sort of thing. The IoT team wants to see a good Indiegogo campaign first. It's really very sector specific, and it's also geographically specific. The things you would look for in the UK it's probably a lower bar than what you would look for in San Francisco as well.
You did a lot of international work when you were at eBay all over the world. Are your syndicates planned to be global as well?
Yeah, so we have a UK syndicate, a Canada syndicate, and an Israel syndicate so far, and I was in Germany earlier this year. I'm going to be out there again in September.
These are deals in those geographies?
Syndicates in those geographies, sourcing deals in and around those geographies.
So they're regionally focused.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is actually similar. We have regional fund strategies, vertical fund strategies. You're doing that for these new fund managers to get off the ground.
Yep.
That's cool.
You're not snarky enough. You're supposed to give me more shit.
No, I haven't actually had. I'm asking him real questions that I'm fascinated about what he's doing on AngelList. Do you guys have questions?
God, we're really boring. No one has
Gil?
questions.
Actually, can I ask you? There was something you were pitching me a couple years ago, and I don't know where it went to, but you were trying to put together a pro rata fund to buy a pro rata from angels all over the valley. Is that something you're still interested in doing?
So that our late stage fund does that. So I'm trying not to be too self-promotional, but now I have to. Thank you. So
what would you pay me for my excess pro rata?
Exactly. So the story on pro rata is sometimes as an angel I get pro rata, which means I invest $25,000 in a company, and later on they're raising a B or a C or a D, and they call me and they're like, okay, it's $200,000 to maintain your ownership. And I'm like, wait a minute, I own like 0.1%, and I'm going to get diluted by like 0.01% unless I write a $200,000 check. That's a lot of money. And so we actually formed the late stage syndicate, and about a half a dozen people in this audience, I think, are partners in it already. And the notion is, if you have access to pro rata in a later stage deal, you can become a partner in our late stage syndicate, and you get half the carry. So we'll write the check for you through your fund, and
50-50.
you keep half the upside, and we keep half the upside, and you have to help with the due diligence and help us sort of work through it and all that stuff. It's not as simple as like, here's a piece of paper, please give me money. But notionally, we're trying to let people become this sort of one-off partner.
How easy is that to execute? I would think that there's a lot of paperwork and bullshit you have to deal with. And does the company even allow you to do? Can I transfer my pro rata to somebody else?
When I do it, I describe it as my fund. My fund's going to take this one.
Oh, so this is negotiated with the
everything. I mean, the amount of negotiation that goes on in raising money is already ridiculous. This just sort of adds to the ridiculous.
All right. I guess if you hit an Uber on that, then it'll be quite lucrative, I guess. Here's the man. One more questions. Any other folks for AngelList? Gil, sorry, I didn't even have you promote the name. You're Fastly? Is that the story, or is that one of your companies?
Oh no, yeah, Fastly's a company I'm an investor in. They're the new CDN.
Okay.
It's a real-time infrastructure company.
But what's the name of your syndicate business?
For the moment, we're calling it Flight. Naval told me I had to come up with a name, so Flight.vc was a domain we were able to find.
Flight.vc.
I'm not sure I like it, but it's the name I've got.
That sounds a little airy, fluttery, flighty, perhaps.
It could be takeoff.
Can I invest in Flight.vc?
I have not thought of that. Now, I guess the real question is, could I syndicate
syndicate
Flight.vc
your own stuff?
on AngelList?
This is like dog fooding. This is really dog fooding.
Yeah, I'm going to go with no on that one.
Oh, come on.
But it would be nice recursive logic.
Yeah, be great. Just lift yourself up with your own drone, I guess.
I don't want to price. I guess the notion of me pricing equity that I'm selling to my friends to benefit myself doesn't sound good.
You play poker, Gil?
I do.
Yeah, you ever bluff in poker?
No.
Oh, yeah, right. I'm not playing poker with you. All right. Well, maybe I should have some of our fund managers talk to you and some of our students at Stanford talk to you about getting their syndicates off the ground.
Yeah, it'd be great. I mean, we have a whole tier of sort of associates and volunteer partners who can sort of learn the trade and look at lots of decks. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I didn't become an angel investor because I thought I wanted to become a VC someday, and I still don't want to be a VC. So I'm still lying to myself and saying I'm not one. I became an angel investor because I wanted to learn how the Valley worked. I wanted to understand all this stuff that was going on that I read about that I didn't understand. And I thought if I raised money someday, it would be helpful to see what it looked like from the other side of the table. And so a lot of what our organization does is really education, right? We're helping people see a bunch of information and learn and write deal memos. And so there are a lot of people who actually there's a bunch in the room. You guys want to raise your hands? How many people are here who are already involved? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Great.
We've taken over the room. Who are just in it for a variety of different reasons. Some to learn, some to make money, and some because they want to be a better founder and they want to know what it's like to see the other side of that.
Well, great. I hope you're able to help a lot more folks get into the business, and it'd be great to see you make some money on that.
That's ultimately the goal, isn't it?
All right. Thanks for spending some time, Gil.